In West Java, Indonesia, Mount Salak commands the skyline. But beneath the thick canopy, the mountain has a reputation for swallowing people whole, a place where experienced hikers and aircraft have a habit of simply vanishing. Locals blame these disappearances on the Pasukan Gaib, the ghost army. The myth traces back to Dutch colonial patrols that vanished in this jungle. Records show they wore specific pointed hats and long pole weapons. Modern survivors describe seeing these exact uniforms in the fog. Villagers living near the base of Salak plan their travel around these sightings. To them, the ghost army is as real and dangerous as a sudden tropical storm. In 2021, an American YouTuber named Daniel and his cameraman arrived to investigate the mountain's reputation, hoping to find a logical explanation they could share with their audience. Their local translator, Lena, gave them a highly specific warning about an abandoned Dutch colonial trail. She warned that if they ever heard drums echoing through the trees, they must never follow the sound. Daniel figured ghost soldiers would make a perfect hook for his next video. Directly against local advice, the crew set out onto the forbidden trail right past midnight. Deep in the jungle, the environment produced its first anomaly, a total, suffocating silence. No insects, no wind. Then, faint but steady, a rhythmic, echoing drum beat started in the distance. Daniel turned to the camera, joking that local kids were playing a prank for the tourists. He kept walking, moving his crew deeper towards the source of the sound. The faint drum beat rapidly multiplied. A single thump became a dozen, and suddenly the sound of hundreds of heavy, perfectly synchronized boots began marching towards their position. Lena went entirely pale. She grabbed Daniel's arm and desperately whispered for him to shut off the flashlights and stay perfectly still. Marcus pointed the camera lens into the dark. Through the thick fog, dozens of tall figures emerged. They were mud-covered, rotting silhouettes, carrying the long colonial-era spears from the history books. Lena warned them not to look directly at the procession, but Daniel already had, and the absolute second he locked eyes with the figures, the drum beats completely stopped. Lena's breathing hitched as she realized the drumming had stopped. In that sudden, heavy vacuum of sound, the shadows between the trees adjusted their stance, turning their faceless heads toward the flashlights. One of the soldiers stepped forward, its jaw hanging loose in the mud. In a broken, guttural whisper, it commanded them to join the march. Marcus screamed, and the crew scrambled downhill in pure panic. Behind them, the drum beats violently erupted again, louder, overlapping, and matching the speed of their sprint. The audio assault escalated. Hundreds of disembodied whispers crowded the air around their ears, telling them to stop running, telling them they were already part of the unit. Mid-sprint, Marcus suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. His face went entirely blank. Shoving Daniel away, he turned around and walked willingly straight into the dark tree line. Marcus didn't struggle or shout. He simply adjusted his pace to match the rhythm of the hidden drums, disappearing into the fog as if he'd been part of the unit for years. Daniel and Lena reached the vehicle and sped away. The second the tires hit the main paved road, the drums vanished, replaced instantly by the normal sounds of a tropical night. They reached the city before dawn, but the silence of the hotel room didn't last. At 4 a.m., a rhythmic thumping began to vibrate through the hallway floorboards. Looking through the peephole, Daniel saw the pristine carpet destroyed. Hundreds of wet, overlapping military boot prints tracked down the hall, leading directly to Marcus's empty room. Daniel forced the door open. Marcus was gone. The balcony door hung wide open, and smeared on the mirror in wet mountain mud were 3 words: "The march continues." The rules of the trail had followed them back to civilization. Once the mountain identifies a target, the geography of the town offers no protection. Local police combed the jungle for weeks. They found no body. The only item ever recovered was Marcus's camera, smashed and buried deep in the mud of the colonial trail. Most of the file data was hopelessly corrupted, but the final 10 seconds survived. The audio captures pitch darkness, heavy breathing, and dozens of voices chanting, "Now he marches with us." For a single frame at the very end,
the video clears. Marcus is standing perfectly still, shoulder to shoulder with the shadow soldiers, smiling directly into the lens.
If you hike the forests of West Java and hear the faint sound of drums in the trees, keep moving, because if the rhythm stops suddenly, the ghost army has already seen you.